All right, so before you jump in to start taking a derivative, so we're on this k of x one down here. I think we finished the rest, right? Yeah. Before we jump into this, you want to identify like what you have going on before you just start doing stuff, right? So I have two terms overall, right? This one, I don't have to use the product rule on. Do I need to use the product rule here on this one? Yes. And so I'm going to do it term by term, just like as if it was a polynomial, right? So I start with that first term of the 2. So k prime of x equals, what is the derivative of 2? 0. So do I need to write anything? No. Okay, so then since this has this minus sign, attach it to whatever that first term is. It's going to make your life a lot easier than putting it out in front with parentheses and making things weird. So I have two terms here. When I start my product rule, do I take the derivative of the first or the second? The first. So the derivative of negative x cubed is what? 3x squared. Good. And then what do I multiply that by? G of x. Then do I add or subtract? Add. So then it's plus. What comes next? Negative x cubed. Good. Times what? G prime of x. Everybody okay with that? Could I clean this up and like change that plus to a minus? Yeah, but I don't need to. I can go ahead and substitute stuff in, and I'm going to get k prime of x equals negative 3 times negative 3 squared, right, times g of negative 3 plus negative 3 cubed. Now look at what I just did there. Because this negative is outside the cubed, right? I'm substituting in a negative 3. So it's negative 3 cubed, and then we change the sign, right? So make sure your negatives are in there correctly, or like you have your parentheses correct. Times g prime of negative 3. So I'm trying to see how much room y'all have. I'm going to write on the other side of this, and then we'll just do this underneath probably. All right, so looking at, I don't even know if I have this up here in front of me anymore. I don't even know where it went. Okay, so I'm going to have to go back and forth. So this is equal to, what's negative 3 squared? Positive 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. Okay, so then g of negative 3. G of negative 3 is 2 times 2 plus what? You good? Yeah? You good that it's 2? Okay. Then what is negative 3 cubed? Negative 27. And then I make that negative and it becomes positive 27, right? Times g prime of negative 3. So at negative 3, I'm looking for the what here? Slope. Is the slope positive or negative? Negative. And it is negative what? 1. Okay, times negative 1. So I have negative 27 times 2, which is what? Negative 54 minus 27, which is negative 7081. Yes? You all good with that? Okay. All right, so this last one is really going to be more about notation because we have the y. We don't want to use y prime. We're calling it dy dx. It's the derivative of y with respect to x. So here's what your notation looks like. Instead of y prime or f prime of x, we have dy dx. Okay, that equals. All right, so I look at what I have. I just have one big term. Things are being multiplied, so I'm going to use my product rule, right? Derivative of the first is what? E to the x times the second, which is g of x. And then plus the first, which is e to the x, times g prime of x. You agree with that? Okay, so here's how you do. So you know how we have, oh, I put k of x here. this should say k of negative 3, right? So now we have k of x, and then we replace x with a negative 3, like that for f and f of x. We don't have anything to replace, but we can't just say dy dx equals and then put in numbers. So to show that we are evaluating there, it looks like this. Dy dx, and then you put a vertical line, and then a subscript of the vertical line is x equals 0. So you read this, dy dx evaluated at x equals 0, since that's what we get right there. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so that's how you do it when you can't put like an f of x type of thing. So then we substitute it in, and I'm going to get e to the 0 times g of 0 plus e to the 0 times g prime of 0. All right, what's e to the 0? 1. So both of these just give me 1. No biggie, right? So they don't really even matter in what we're doing. So I need g of 0. What's g of 0? 1. And what's g prime of 0? 0. Because it's the slope of this line. The slope of the line is 0. So g of 0 is 1 plus 0 is 1. Okay. Any questions about where anything came from? Don't be afraid to ask. Questions, better? No? We good? All right. So then let's look at this one. Hopefully you still have some room to write, right? It says, write the equation of the line tangent to k of x at above, k of x above at x equals negative 3. All right, so as soon as I see equation of the line tangent, I need to write down that I need a slope and I need a point. Or a point and a slope. I usually write point first. Don't ask me why I wrote slope first. I don't know. I need it at negative 3k of negative 3, right? Because we're doing k of x. And the slope is going to be k prime of negative 3. All right, so do I know k prime of negative 3? Yes, we found that, right? Because it tells me to use this one. So I found that this is equal to negative 81. I have the slope. What I don't have is the y value, right? So I need to find that. So the y value will be k of negative 3. So that'll be 2 minus negative 3 cubed times g of negative 3. Do y'all agree with that? K of negative 3, I'm just substituting negative 3 into the original one. Because originally I found k prime. So then I need, what is g of negative 3? 2. So even though 2 minus negative 3 cubed times 2 is a safe stop, I definitely don't want to substitute that in when I write the equation of a line, right? So you kind of use your brain about a safe stop. All right, what is negative 3 cubed? Negative 27, right? Times 2 is negative 54, right? Then we make that we change the sign, it makes a positive 54. So this is 2 plus 54, which gives us 56. So my point is actually negative 3, comma 56. Yes? No? You don't agree with me? Because my key's not over here. What happened to it? I'm assuming I'm doing the right math right. You'll stop me if I'm not. I was doing some weird arithmetic earlier, so I wouldn't put it past me. All right, so now do I have enough information to write the equation of my line? And I want to do it in point slope, but we're going to try and do it the, I guess, advanced way and just do it as y equals. So the slope is negative 81 times x minus the x value, which is a negative 3. So that really becomes x plus 3, right? And then do I put minus 56 or plus 56 here? Plus, okay, because I'm putting it on the right-hand side. And that is the equation of my line that is tangent to k of x at x equals negative 3. Okay. You have a question? You sure? I feel like you did. Maybe you just look more, maybe it's because you're holding that and you look more like you're looking like this. This is what I've guessed. Okay, no, you're fine. I just we good? Any questions? All right. So you have your assignment I gave you yesterday, right?